Hello, this is John Ramsey, and this is My Big Comeback. I have a wonderful guest with me today, a lifelong friend, Coach Doug Lee. He's the athletic director at Mosley High School, varsity baseball coach. But I want to tell you a little bit more because I have known Doug almost all my life. We went to Everett Middle School together and Rutherford High School together. And this year we're having our 40-year class reunion in October. Good to have you, Doug. Thanks for
John.
coming in and
Appreciate you
talking with
having
me. I tell you, I've been watching some of the games, been coming out to some of the baseball games, and it's pretty exciting to watch the guys play and see what's going on. How many years have you been there at Mosley?
Well, this is my second go around. I was there 13 years. For a while back in my first stint. This time around, I'm on my sixth year being back. So 35th total, I guess, in education. But I've kind of went back and forth between there and Rutherford, and then I had a short stint at the district office, actually.
Yeah. So have you been in sports your whole life? I guess you're a lifelong resident of Panama City, right?
Lifelong and born and raised, proud product of Panama City and Bay District schools. And so I don't, just the thought of living somewhere else just is hard to believe, you know, think about. But yeah, it's been a joy, and it's a thrill to be where I'm at right now.
That's great, and it's always been. I know in high school you played basketball, football, but has your love always been baseball?
Yeah, I think baseball has been my love. I played, like I said, all three of them at one point in time. Gave up basketball in high school to be football and baseball, and but there's, funny story. When I got engaged to my wife Kim, I just said, "Hey, I got a feeling I'll be involved in baseball the rest of my life. Is that going to cut me out of the plan, maybe?" But it's she's been a joy and a big supporter, and always supported that love of my life of being involved in baseball.
That's wonderful, and I guess baseball's a big commitment for the whole family. I know
it is.
Brady plays, and
absolutely, it's a big commitment. The different roles I've been in, not only coaching but as an umpire. I was going away from home quite a bit. Almost didn't make it to see Brady born. One weekend I was gone umpiring, but that's kind of a funny story. But
how many years did you umpire?
Well, it's been about 25 seasons. I worked in the ACC and the Sun Belt and Atlantic Coast Conference, Atlantic Sun conferences. But it's that was a great experience.
That's great. So you've been on both sides of the plate.
I've been on both sides of it, and they both have their unique roles and to be a part of the game, but it definitely is a sacrifice to the family. You got to have a good wife to support both roles.
Absolutely. So tell me about your journey. From high school ball, where'd you go to college, and what was that experience?
So I went to Gulf Coast here. I spent a semester at Northeast Mississippi Junior College, actually, right out of Rutherford. I went out to Boonville, Mississippi for a semester. And I really enjoyed it. It was part of the baseball program there. And then my dad had some health problems. I just felt like I needed to be here that Christmas. So I was fortunate enough to talk to Coach Frazier here at Gulf Coast, and he gave me an opportunity. And so I made the team that spring, and then he put me on scholarship that second year at Gulf Coast. And so, got my AA degree here at Gulf Coast locally, and then went on to University of West Florida. Pensacola, Florida. So have a love for the Argonauts of UWF.
They have some good programs around.
Oh yeah, they have a great program. They just had some big news just recently. They're going to the Division I level next year in all their athletics, and so they're joining the Atlantic Sun Conference. That's great. So to see when I was there that we were NAIA, and then we went to Division II NCAA. They went to, and then now they're making the big leap to Division I. So I know they're thrilled to death over there. And the baseball coach, we played the one year together at UWF. So just to have that connection, I know I've talked to him. He's really excited about making that big jump.
A lot of great programs around on the college level in North Florida and Alabama and Georgia too. But so a lot of places for the kids to go if they're serious about taking it to the college level.
Yeah, I would say just finding the right fit. I mean, talking to people, they always say, well, there's always a place for someone to play. You just got to be willing to go wherever they want you, and the right fit and all the things. So, I think student athletes just got to be realistic. I think everybody, even my dream, was to go play at Florida State, and that God had a different plan, and so the irony of that story, which a lot of people may not realize, I mean, obviously I wanted to be a Seminole growing up and being a little kid and all that. But the unique thing about that, by going to UWF and God closing that door as a baseball player, which, I was just not good enough, honestly. Yeah. But I would never been allowed to umpire there as a graduate of Florida State. So, God had a plan, and that worked out where I got to be on that baseball field a lot of times, just in a different role as an umpire. Yeah. So, that's what I tell all our players. God's got a plan for you, and you just got to seek it out.
Is it this year where they're going to the electronic, or they're just trying it? Or how do you feel about that?
Well, Major League Baseball, they were trying they call it the ABS system. So basically they can get 2 challenges a game, and they're challenging the pitch. I'm kind of old school in that.
I think it's going to muddy it up a little bit.
I don't know. I think there's some kinks that's got to be worked out in it. At the college game, it's not got there yet, but we had, before I retired as a Division I umpire, we had instant replay. And so there was a lot of that kind of talk and concern, not concern so much, it was just kind of what's this going to be like. And but as it came about, I think really umpires were comfortable. I know personally I liked instant replay because you want to get the play right. I mean, the most important thing is to get the play right and not allow it to affect the outcome of a game.
Yeah,
so, we were glad to do that. The only thing you don't really like, if you miss a call in the first inning, you're over there thinking, man, I hope I don't miss another one tonight, So, that's the challenge of the mental part of the game as an umpire. But I like instant replay, the ABS, the strike zone part of it. I've still got the jury's still out on that as far as I'm concerned.
I'm seeing a lot of changes with social media, with people just being just rude to each other. Have you seen it? Have you seen the increase in tension at ball games, or if people are less kind to each other?
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about having a rivalry. I mean, obviously, the Florida State Floridas and the Alabama Auburns, and even here locally, high school versus high school teams. But, just in my opinion, professionalism is really important to me. I know sometimes I'll question an umpire's call, and I feel like there's a role as a head baseball coach or a head coach. There's a role in that as part of the game. But just the mean and nasty part of it, I don't like that part.
I've seen the games I've went to this year at Mosley. I think everyone's behaved pretty well.
Oh yeah. And and really locally, I mean, I don't see much of that going on. I mean, we all want to, once we cross the lines or get inside the court, we want to win.
We want to win. Yeah.
We want to win, and that's what it's about, and that's what it should be about. And but at the end of the day, I think once the game's over, it's over. And I think our local schools and ADs and coaches, we do a really good job of working together and doing the right thing.
What does sports really teach children? What's the biggest thing they get out of it?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. I mean, it's a competitive world, and so in youth sports, I think the travel ball mentality. Sometimes we try to we've kind of taught our kids that you if you pay your money, you get to play. And I think high school sports is kind of the beginning of where you got to compete for jobs, and I think that does teach you real world application of that. You're going to have to interview for a job, and they're going to hire the best candidate, and all those things. But just I think it teaches mental toughness. I mean, you got to be tough mentally to go through it. But just being a good teammate. Perseverance, determination, commitment, following through. It's a lot of sacrifice of time, and we got a lot of guys I know that's on our roster personally that I'm sure they'd rather be working or whatever, and it's just there's some days, and some days are days probably they don't want to even be at practice, but that's where the commitment part comes in. And I tell them, hey, you're not going to always want to get up and go to work one day, but you got to have commitment.
That is the truth.
There's a lot of life lessons that I feel like athletics teaches our kids.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, and I think that I'm that way with I tell all our parents that children should always learn an instrument, play some music, should play sports, team sports, where you learn you have to work with people. It's not a thing of everything's your way and everything's easy and everything, because you're right. Life is not easy and everything is not your way.
Right.
And you don't always get what you want,
Right.
and you have to work for things. You have to work for things that are good. And I think that's real important. And I think some parents maybe get a little overpassionate. Maybe some coaches and players do too. But everyone wants to win. It's a tense setting. Everyone's competing. I understand that. I just think civility, being kind to one another and not pushing it too far,
Right.
and then being a good loser.
Right,
when
yeah.
you lose, shake hands with the other team and congratulate them because they just beat you.
Yeah.
They did something.
That's part of the competition. Is once the
Yeah.
game's over, it's over, and you congratulate the winner, and you move on and learn from the lessons from that particular contest, whatever it may be.
What about like injuries and stuff on the high school level? You see a lot of it, or you have to be careful with it. The young bodies, young people.
I mean, the reality is we have injuries, and every, I don't know if we've got a program that hasn't had an injury this year, honestly, but, just specifically in our program, we've got a player coming off of Tommy John surgery from last year, and, he's gotten back, worked hard to get back, and he's pitching some games. It's kind of flared up on him recently, and so we're hoping to get him back, before the playoffs is, concludes. But just personally, my son's had 2 knee surgeries, in the same knee. So, it is what it is at times. And, I don't know really all the reasons. I think, as far as pitching arms are concerned, there's a lot of talk about that and how many innings they're throwing, the proper rest and all the things, travel ball, and, are they getting all the taking care of their arms like they need to? But, injuries are definitely a part of the game.
Part of it. The big thing a few years ago with the NFL and all the head trauma and blunt force injury trauma to the brain, that was a big deal. I mean, and they're still talking about dialing that back on the younger kids. In other words, head to head, going head to head, banging into each other, started a little later, and so to kind of curb that a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if it comes further, as they're making some changes with helmets and stuff like that. What about technology besides the helping the umpire? How's technology affecting baseball?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of technology as far as we have TrackMan, Rapsodo, things that can help you as far as pitchers learn tracking pitches, spin rates and all those things. That's really, really big in the recruiting process now, that a lot of recruiters at the collegiate level are looking at metrics and data as far as what, pitchers, have, what their repertoire is on the mound. Hitters can also use it, as far as exit velo coming off the bat and things of that nature. But, as an umpire, going back to that scenario, we used to get our TrackMan report after the game, and we would know, hey, how many pitches we missed. If we missed pitches, then, where were they at in the location that we were, kind of give us an idea where our hot spots were in that zone.
What was that movie that Brad Pitt was in? Was it Moneyball?
Moneyball, yeah.
Where they were looking at the stats and going by that rather than the people with the popularity.
Yeah, he was one of the first ones to start doing that.
Yeah.
And building a team around that.
You think there's some truth to that?
I do think, it kind of gives you an idea of a guy who can play at each level, a certain level. But, at the end of the day, you may have a guy that throws 100 miles an hour, but if he can't throw it across that 17-inch plate in the ground,
won't do you any good.
It won't do you any good.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Heroes Child is a nonprofit organization that is on a mission to help community heroes with the everyday cost of childcare. We know that heroes like our military personnel, first responders, and foster families need care for their children. Heroes Child awards these families scholarships that go to help pay their childcare tuition. Use the QR code on the screen to donate now or visit heroeschild.org today.
Hey, I'm right back here with Coach Doug Lee. Me and Doug, we've known each other a long, long time, and we're Rams, class of 1986, and we're coming on our 40-year reunion, which is we're doing in October, which is I can't wait to see everybody, and we got a lot of friends. And for some reason, our class stayed kind of close.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a small town thing of us or what, but we still know a lot of one another. You know, there's a couple of things that are really affecting sports right now, and I've been talking to you more on a local level, but let's broaden it out just a little bit. The two things, student athlete compensation. I mean, that's really, it's changing things. You feel like it's having a good effect, bad effect? I mean, where are we at with that?
I don't know. I think I don't really have a problem paying the players. I think there was one of those that was a big talk for a lot of years. And again, I've got a lot of learning to do in this as this is developed, and obviously, we have NIL even to high school. It's different. It looks different. We don't have collective bargaining and players getting paid, but it is legal in the state of Florida at high school. But I just think there's a lot of meddling going. I guess tampering. You've seen a couple cases where college coaches have said that, hey, this college has reached out to my athlete and it's against the NCAA rules, and so I think from that standpoint, it's kind of, how do you police that?
How do you police
that?
That's the question.
I think that's the biggest question in the room. And, I don't have a problem if a guy's, making some money off his name, image, and likeness. Somebody, I go buy his jersey and he's going to make a little bit off of that. I don't see anything wrong with that.
I don't either.
But, it's just, there's a jealousy standpoint. If, they're going to pay John Ramsey a certain amount and it's $100,000 and I'm getting $10,000, well, you're playing shortstop, I'm playing third, or you're pitching and I'm playing shortstop. Well, am I going to really?
Yeah, they may just have a better agent than you.
That, or I don't know. I just don't know all the details of that.
So right now, it's just a window of time that you can move, or how does that work as far as transferring?
So right now, before, and I guess there was an executive order just signed, recently, but at that point you could go transfer anytime you want to every year, basically. You had 4 years eligibility, and then you had a red shirt. From what I'm understanding now is that we're going to 5 years of eligibility as soon as you start college, and then you don't have a red shirt year, and you can only transfer 1 year. So, I don't, that might be a good thing. I especially as far as the
things to work out on.
I think there's a lot of kinks, things they got to look at. And of course, I'm sure there's going to probably be some lawsuits from it to try to prevent it and all that. So I don't, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out and how it goes.
Something people have been noticing, and I've noticed, is just the explosion of sports betting. I was looking at that, why that changed all of a sudden, and it was a legal case of Murphy versus NCAA, where I believe it was the state of New Jersey was saying, why is it only Nevada gets to bet on sports? And what they did is they changed the law to wherever it's up to the states, so your state can allow it or not allow it. And it's stuff like, remember, Pete Rose was banned from the Hall of Fame because of his involvement with betting, which I realized he was still a player, which is much more complicating. But I think with opening the betting so widespread now on every phone, on every device, people's betting on every game, there's a lot more opportunities for corruption.
I would agree with that.
It's just going to get worse.
Yeah, and again, that's another thing they're cracking down on, and I think they're starting to hammer it. It's definitely part of the game, and it seems like that a lot of the ESPN, they have their own ESPN betting, So I don't know. It's just there's a lot of, I guess, angles. I don't know much about that area. Try to stay away from that, and so
Well, what people worry about is people shaving points. And I guess in some sports it'd be easier than others.
Well, I think the integrity of the game's got to be protected at all case. At all cost, and I think that's just been the biggest disappointment to see is just the integrity of the game being messed with. And so it's it's a tough deal, and
it is a tough deal. But those are some big changes that are happening in sports, and I know a lot of it. You're talking about the professional level, but I think it affects everybody all the way down. I mean, you mentioned that even some high school players see some benefit to it, and some.
Well,
Not the betting. I'm talking about the compensation.
Yeah, with NIL, I mean, they can get memberships given to them to like a gym or hidden facility or something. I've heard of things of that nature. And again, I think every state's different with that.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of that going on here locally. I think we had one student athlete last year that had one. But as of right now, I don't know if we have a current one here locally or not.
Yeah, yeah. So your team this year, I know y'all just made the playoffs. Just found out, I guess, yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, and so putting things together to go down to Lake City.
Yeah, we're heading Lake City. We open up with them on the road, and what's kind of wild is last year we opened up with them the same. It's a rematch from last year's first round. Now last year, the first round was 2 out of 3. This year the state changed it, went back to single elimination this year. And the second and third round is 2 out of 3. So
how many teams involved in the playoffs?
So there's 32, and we're in Class 5A. So there's 32 teams. There's 8 teams in 4 regions.
Wow!
So we're in the top region from Pensacola, basically the Jacksonville region. So there's 8 teams. We're seeded 3rd right now. We played Lake City, who's seeded 6th.
Yeah.
We're traveling, even though we're the higher seed. We're traveling the first round because they're a district champion. And we lost in the first round of the district champion district tournament to Lincoln last week. So that forced us to have to travel this first round. But fortunately, if we can win this one on Friday night and play someone a lower seed, we would host the following weekend. So
that's great. Fantastic. And your little brother, he coaches the junior varsity team.
Yeah, my younger brother, he's come over to Mosley with me. He's coaching the JV team, and so. It's been a unique experience to have him.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. 2 brothers coaching.
Got him, and sometimes mom and dad's worried if we're going to kill each other out there. But no, it's been well, and I've got 2 former players on my staff. That's kind of a unique thing.
That's
and
great.
I got another coach, assistant coach, who's a former Division I coach. He's been a great asset to our program too.
You have a lot of seniors on your team this year. Is your team going to change a lot after this year?
We only have 3 seniors right now currently, so we're a pretty young club.
Good.
So that's a good thing for the future, and we've got a really good 9th and 10th grade class, mainly that was on the JV. So we're excited about the future of Mosley baseball right now.
That's fantastic. Well, I tell you what, I enjoy it. I want to turn the corner just a little bit on the person. So when Doug Lee is not playing baseball, coaching baseball, athletic director, what's Doug like to do these days?
Well, I don't have a lot of hobbies. I can tell you. I mean, my wife would tell you. All I know is ball, and so one of the days when we decide to hang this up, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm I hate to admit this, but I'm constantly working. I mean, even I'm at the house, I'm working on whatever the next thing is involving Mosley High School, which is good and bad, I guess, to some degree. But the one thing me and Kim have in common, we like to travel. And we've when we didn't have to, when Brady got involved with travel baseball, that kind of changed a little bit. But we used to always take a big family vacation during the summer. But the last few summers, we've spent time following him playing travel baseball, which has been fun in itself too. But we're looking forward to the days when maybe we can take another vacation together.
Tell me about some of the places you traveled to. What's the most interesting city you've been to?
Well, I like big cities. Now, my wife, she's a beach person, so she really liked Hawaii. I really felt like when we were on vacation in Hawaii, we drove by elementary school that was right on the water. I don't know if I was going to get her on the plane coming back home. She was ready to go apply for a job. She really
she wants to teach there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, we her parents live here too, and I got the best in-laws in the world, and so having family here is hard to leave. So I don't know if we'll ever leave, but we've been to Hawaii, we've been to New York City. That ain't Brady's favorite. Of course, he was about Brady, 9 or 10. He didn't like the walking in the city.
He didn't like the walking.
But we've been quite. One of my favorite places, really, I love Yellowstone. I like national parks. I love Yellowstone National Park, Grand Teton area.
Yeah.
I'd love to. I keep kidding Kim when we retire. I want to go out there and work during the summer. We actually were hiking on one of our trips and ran into a couple that went to our church at First Baptist back then.
At Yellowstone?
In Yellowstone, we were walking up Mount, I can't even remember the name of the mountain we were walking up, but we're walking up and I did a double take and I said, Mr. and Miss Hathaway, and they turned around shocked as I was, and so I told them who I was because I was raised with her son in the youth group, but that was a neat experience.
It's funny how small the world is. I was in Las Vegas a few months ago, and we're standing in the middle of the mall there at Caesars, and this guy walks up, hey, John Ramsey. And I'm thinking, what? And he's one of our parents from the school, but, you're in a different place, so you're trying to place, should I know this guy? Or does he look like someone I know? Yeah. Small world.
It is a very small world.
And it's funny, and because, our kids are sweet on each other, Olivia and Brady, and they when they first started dating, I told my Olivia, I said, me and Doug went to school together, and your mom and Kim went to school together, so both y'all's moms knew each other, and so we've been knowing each other a long time.
We have. It's been great. And you talked about playing an instrument, and really, I think the choir, we were being in the choir together, kind of brought us together, and how we really became good friends.
I've always liked music. I've never been much of an athlete, but I've always liked music, and I think, whatever you do, find what you do, find what you like, and go to it and do it. That's always a really good thing. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and ask you a few more things. Give us just a minute.
Heroes Child is a nonprofit organization that is on a mission to help community heroes with the everyday cost of childcare. We know that heroes like our military personnel, first responders, and foster families need care for their children. Heroes Child awards these families scholarships that go to help pay their childcare tuition. Use the QR code on the screen to donate now or visit heroeschild.org today.
I'm back here with Doug Lee, the varsity baseball coach, Mosley High School, and athletic director. And we've been talking a lot about baseball, but I just got you into travel just a little bit. What's some of the places on your bucket list or things you'd like to do that you haven't done yet?
Well, obviously being a baseball guy, I want to go. One of my goals was to always go see every major league city, major league ballpark. I mean, I kid Kim because she's been to about half of them already.
That'd be a good travel list.
But the incentive, I got to have a beach close by, ballpark. But no, it's been fun, and I'd love to do that, to be able to say that. But I'm just looking forward to retirement one day, and me and Kim trying where we want to go. Right now, our biggest place we'd like to go to Italy. And
that'd be neat.
I've never been out of the country other than I've been to the Bahamas, and we've been to Jamaica before. But I think that's really the first trip on our agenda. We really like to go to Italy.
That'd be great to go to Italy and stuff like that. That's one of our things. We want to do some travel in Europe and stuff like that. And we've been to Mexico, of course, the Bahamas, and but there's a lot of places I want to see that I haven't seen yet, and hopefully we will. Been like you, raising kids and living life, but all of that does begin to change. You begin to look at retirement and stuff, and I don't know that I will, but I mean, I
don't know if I ever retire. I may do something.
I think you'll always be doing some kind of baseball.
I don't
know. I kind of see that.
I may change my role to fan. That's where I want.
Who is your favorite professional team?
Well, I'm kind of close to home, the Braves. I've always kind of pulled for the Braves.
Yeah.
So love going to their ballpark and watching games. We usually go at least once a year there. But we've had some guys that you kind of know and you kind of go see them play and have that opportunity. But
have any of your players made the big leagues since you've been coaching?
Yeah, we've had a few. Cleet Thomas played for me. He was with the Tigers and the Twins. David Herndon was a local guy. I think he's with the Philadelphia. I may mess up here, but Jay Chapman, a local guy. Chicago Cubs. Somebody's gonna be mad at me if I miss one of them. But
that's a lot to remember over 35 years.
But we've had quite a few of them, and that's been a joy to see guys live their dream out and make it all the way. It's Daniel Davidson, actually my pitching coach. Boy, he would have been, but he made it to the big leagues with the Angels, and anybody can make it to that level. Whether you're there a day, a week, 2 weeks, a month, or you have a 10-year career, that's honestly a great
I was talking
accomplishment.
with a young man that attended our church, some that made it in the NFL, and he was talking about on day one they sat them down and told them that the average NFL career is 7 years, and that's pushing it 7 years, and it's because of injuries. It's because your body won't hold up for you to keep taking those kind of hits.
Right.
What about baseball? Is it a little longer?
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know that research, but again, it's so competitive, and it depends on so many factors. Injuries and
Injuries.
things of that nature, like you're mentioning. But we've got guys in AAA that they may get called up for maybe they're a week, and that may be their whole career.
Yeah.
In the major league, but some of those guys I've talked about had the opportunity to stay there quite a bit and live out their dream, and so.
Yeah.
I like to talk to them and ask them, what's that major league life like? It's and there's pluses and minuses to that. They're away from their family, and they're human beings just like we are, and have a family they're trying to juggle while they're in different major league cities day in and day out, trying to make a living and play well.
And there really isn't an off season, because the off season you're preparing for the on season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
As soon as I asked I asked R.J. Yeager one time. He played the Cardinals and just got finished in his career, and I was asking for personally, how long do you take off after the season hitting wise? He said, Coach, I take about 2 weeks and I'm right back at it. And I thought to myself, well, out of 52 weeks, he's taking 2 weeks off. The rest of those 50 weeks, he's getting after it.
As a fan, you get a break, but as a player, it's all year long.
Yeah, they're getting after it.
They never take a break.
Yeah, so that there's a big commitment to it, and a big sacrifice.
Yeah, I think so. And you're right. I'm sure it has a lot of on their families, a lot of strain on their families and all. So, like when I'm talking to Doug as a person, what's Doug reading these days? What do you like to read?
Well, I like leadership books. I like John Maxwell. I like John Gordon.
A lot of good stuff.
I like a lot of their stuff, what they, their beliefs and all the things. Boy, there's some books that convict you. You'd like to be better. And that's kind of why I read stuff like that. You want to try to be the best version of yourself you can be. But I like John Gordon. I like John Maxwell, and I've really tried to use I read a book by Maxwell several years ago about leading by questioning, and I revert back to that and try to do that a lot of times. A lot of times, if you question guys, they answer their question.
Yeah.
The question you have, and it just helps you steer them in the right direction. So instead of being someone that's kind of more demanding, so. Anyway, those two guys, I really think a lot of what they write about.
You get to have an opportunity of a lot of influence on a lot of young people, and you see that, has it changed in your 35 years in education?
No, I think kids are about the same as far as they're going to respond to whatever standard you hold them at. They're going to respond to it. And I think that's the key, is what you got to decide what that standard is, what that expectation you want for them, and then you got to be consistent in holding that standard and that expectation. But this has been the greatest profession I could have went into. I don't, like I said, I'm serious when I think about it. I'd like to do something different, but I don't know. I don't know if I could do anything different. I love what I do. You got the greatest opportunity to have the greatest influence and the most influence every day you go to work. And, you have to get up some days when it's hard and say, we got to go be that guy today.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I think it's great, the impact you have on young lives, and I watch them out there when I'm watching a game, and I mean their hearts in it. They're proud of it. Their hearts in it. It's something that they've achieved, and I think that's a healthy thing.
Well, I think sometimes as a coach, you got to demand a lot. You expect a lot. You challenge them. The reward is when they're in the moment, they may not really appreciate it, but to have former players later on come back and say, Coach, I'd give anything to go back and do what we did back then, and understand kind of why you pushed them to get the most out of them at that point in time in their life, and and talk about the lesson we talked about earlier. How much that game taught them, and how those lessons have helped them, in their family life, in their job, in their marriage, whatever it may be.
Yeah. I heard a soldier tell me one time that what they taught them at boot camp was they wanted to make it the hardest, most miserable difficult weeks of the months of their lives, and the reason because one day that they'd be expected to go to war.
Right.
And there's no gray areas. There's no break time. There's no break room. You just have to give it all you got to survive.
Right.
And you know what the drill instructor was telling them. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to keep you from getting hurt. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm trying to keep you from getting killed.
Yeah.
And this is the time you test yourself. And, you know, I think a lot of times, you know, we look at the guy catching the winning pass in the Super Bowl or pitching the no-hitter in the World Series, and we think about the glory of that moment, but we don't think about the middle of July, 2-a-day practices. Everybody else is goofing off, and you're at that field working and doing. You're paying a price for it.
Yeah.
And so the guy who catches the winning Super Bowl pass, he didn't get the glory for free. He paid for it.
Yeah.
He paid for it in college. He paid for it in high school. Some of them paid for it in middle school. They've been paying for it their whole life.
Yeah.
And for that moment. And I think sometimes we underestimate how much goes into that moment in the World Series or that moment in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of pro athletes talk about what you're bringing up right there. You know, I've heard them say, you know, a lot of people, you know, criticize them for how much money they make, but, you know, their point is exactly right. Like when they were young kids or high school kids or even college kids, when they couldn't get paid, they're out there spending countless hours for free to develop their trade and their skills so that they can get paid for it later. And so, you know, there's a lot of truth to that, I think. Yeah. And so, you know, it's, I know we pay them a lot of money, but again, a lot of times they've earned what they've gotten.
And it's a short career.
It is
a short career. So, I mean, their physical bodies cannot do it but for so long. And so a lot of them, you know, have got to make that money while they can and hopefully get some wisdom along the way and spend it right. You know, you hope that everyone comes through college with not just a great sports career, but a good education, you know.
Right. You
hold pretty good standards on you guys with their grades and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we monitor grades and we check them regularly. And, of course, we have eligibility checks every half a year, you know, at the end of winter and spring semesters we check them. But, no, we monitor them. And, you know, our team GPA is really good. I mean, you know, we're around 3.6 or something like that. So, overall, we've got some great guys, smart guys on this team, and really as a whole, and we just won the county academic award as an athletic department for all of Mosley athletics. So, you know, that was really a neat accomplishment this year, and it kind of goes back and forth, from between different schools. But for this year, the Dolphins won the academic award. So,
Ooh, that's great.
So
that's
grades
fantastic.
are very important. We got some very high-flying students there. A lot smarter than I was back in the day.
I'm telling you, I was not a high grade person, but I'm thankful for getting through it. Amen. You know, one of my greatest sports moments was not even a game or a playoff or anything like that. One of my greatest sports moments that I can remember is, I think it was the Atlanta Olympics, and I'm not even a huge Olympic fan, but I was watching that night when I think it was Atlanta, where Muhammad Ali lit the cauldron, and you know he's struggling with his health and stuff like that, and they shine the light up there, and there he stands, the champ, holding the torch. Man, I'm crying. I'm thinking, hey, it's Muhammad Ali, you know, and stuff like that. I mean, just heart moments, man. I mean, and sports gives you a lot of those where you're just, you know, you're waiting on that last buzzer beater basket, or you know that one that they're down but he slugs it out and brings them in. I mean, those are powerful moments.
Oh yeah.
And what's your greatest sports moment that you can think of?
Well, I mean, personally, I'd have to say the 2002 state championship in Mosley that I was a part of, and you know, back then there was only one other state championship, I think, two maybe in Bay County at that time, and you know, I just remember the day one coming in there and trying to change the culture and get those guys to believe, and they just, everything we talked about, our coaching staff, they just soaked it in and believed and trusted us, and for a reality of a dream to come true for a group of guys to win it all. And you know what a lot of people don't realize, we were down 7-0 going into the sixth inning.
Wow.
And we got 4 in the bottom of the sixth and 4 in the bottom of the seventh to win it. And you know, just to sit back and watch, you know, I got the picture of that on my in my office wall of the dog pile, and you know, my assistant coach who had been coaching for years, you know, and he was on the bottom of that thing, you know, and so just to see the joy and the excitement, that's what I try to preach to these guys. I push them so hard because I want them to feel that feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, you know, I don't feel like I have to prove anything anymore at my age, and that's not what I'm in it for. I want our players to feel that feeling so bad because
they'll carry it with them the rest of their life.
The rest of their life.
The rest of their life.
And so that's why I push them as hard as I do and challenge them, and we have the expectation we do for them. But so, you know, it's a unique thing.
You know, there's so many factors that have got to happen for you to win a state championship. I mean, a lot of things got to fall into the right place.
Well, it's got to start, you know, at the top. I mean, everybody says that, and I know it's cliche, but back then it was Mr. Husfeld was our principal. Now it's Mr. Bullock, and you know, I can think just working at Rutherford, Mr. Spiva. Everywhere I've been, Coy Pilson when I was at Rutherford assistant. I mean, everywhere I've been, we've had great principals, great support staff, great administrators. Great ADs that just they would do anything for you to help you be successful, and that's really important. And I know for a fact that that's not always the case at other places, because when I talk to other coaches, not in this county but other places, it's not the same.
Yeah. So if you had to pick out one person that was your most inspirational person, someone that really inspired you in life, sports life, the overall picture, who would it be?
Well, don't get me choked up here, but I think there's several people. One, it starts with my parents. I mean, they sacrificed everything. They raised me in a Christian home. My mom and dad's been the greatest examples.
Great people.
So it started at home, just give me that foundation. But, you know, Clyde Mills was my basketball coach. Coach Mills, he was the coach at Everett. And I remember being in his Sunday school class as a 7th grader. And then he wanted to talk to me one day about, you know, just wanted to talk to me after class, Sunday school class, and I thought we were going to talk about the game that week or something like that. But you know, he shared Christ with me that day, and again, just being in a Christian home, you know, I think I was ready. I knew everything about it, but he just took the extra step that needed to be taken. So I think really, I know that for a fact that's the greatest decision I've ever made. I know where I'm going when I die and leave this earth, which is the most important thing. But I know, I also know I'm a sinner saved by grace. We make mistakes each and every day, and some days I need to be a better example at home and at school and all abroad. But Clyde Mills, man, there's none better than him, and he's had a huge impact on my life. I still sit by him at church, actually almost every Sunday.
That's great.
And so, you know, being a part of the deacons, I know he had a huge impact, and you know, recommended me as far as that, and that was a huge honor to be a part of. And anyway, but First Baptist Church here locally, and then Clyde Mills, they've played a big impact on my life also.
Beautiful. Well, Doug, I'm sure that there's a lot of young men and young women that will say Doug Lee has been a great inspiration in their life. And I appreciate your friendship all these years, and I appreciate what you're doing in the lives of young people.
I appreciate you, John. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for talking with us.
All right.
Thank you.